One.
Welcome to Empowered by Nikki, the podcast where we don't just talk about inclusion, we live it, breathe it, and build it into every conversation. I'm your host, Nikki Sanger, founder, speaker, coach, and relentless advocate for spaces where every voice matters and every story has power. This is my daughter, Evelyn, and today you're in for something truly special. We're diving into the intersection of art, storytelling, and advocacy with an extraordinary changemaker. This is Miss Wheelchair Oregon, Alice Steele, and we'd like for all of you to know a little bit more about her story and what she does. I'll also shine a little light on MEC Disabilities, the national nonprofit I founded to ensure that children and young adults with disabilities get the adaptive equipment, support, and inclusion they deserve. Because access isn't optional, it's essential. So, whether you're driving, walking, or curled up with a cup of something cozy, this episode is your permission slip to dream louder, speak bolder, and lead from the heart. This is Empowered by Nikki. Let's dive in.
Hey guys, what an introduction. I mean, that basically your introduction is everything I sit for. So I don't think it's the fact that we met and we get to do stuff together now is meant to be.
Right?
Yeah.
It definitely is. Yeah.
Yeah. So as you said, I'm Miss Wheelchair Oregon 2025, 2026. I was born with cerebral palsy in 1986. So a while ago. I'm 38 now. So that was a couple of years before the ADA was put into law. And I was the first kid with a significant disability to go through mainstream schooling and not just special education classes. I did a mixture of both. That was rough. Elementary school was great. Middle school and high school was a little rough because I needed a lot of care. So I kind of just began. I mean, me and my mom advocated like together. I pretty much learned everything I know about advocacy from my mom, and I realized in between fighting for my education and making sure that I had an aide at school and these sort of things to help me with the work and writing. Where was I going with this? Train of thought. I took up acting. I have a line of female British actresses in my background, and one of them was named Alice, and I was named after her. So I got really obsessed with movies and TV. I still am. And I became a Hollywood actor as another way to advocate and get people with disabilities on the main stage where we belong. And now I get to take 38 years of that advocacy experience that I've experienced just through living and add a crown to it. And so I'm very, very excited and proud to be Miss Wheelchair Oregon and do disability advocacy throughout the whole state and hopefully nationwide when I compete for Miss Wheelchair America in August.
When is that going to be? In August?
Yeah, August 18th to 24th.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, so there's 22 other queens, and I'm just excited to meet them all. Like that's one of the reasons why I definitely want to go is to meet them all. So it's quite a sisterhood.
Yeah, it's really empowering. We had Alice and Stephanie, who is a Miss Wheelchair Oregon ambassador. We had them both at the sensory space by MEC Disabilities, and it's quite it is like a sisterhood. It's really fun and like to see like you guys have a connection and you're originally from California, right?
Yeah. I grew up in Northern California, and then after I graduated high school, I went straight to Los Angeles for 18 years. And so I'm actually pretty new to Oregon, really. I've never even been here, let alone lived here. And what I noticed right away was, I wasn't in Los Angeles anymore. People wanted to get to know me, and people are really good here. And despite local politics, I do think the people here are really special, and the Siskiyou Mountains rule. And I don't know, I just think it's a really special place. But I also think I came here at a really interesting time. So that's why my platform for Miss Wheelchair Oregon is providing uh, hope and safe spaces to our most vulnerable communities. Yeah, which is what you guys do. Basically, that's your mission statement. So, and yeah, and visiting you, Evie, was like the best because I look at you and honestly, I see myself. You're exactly what I was like when I was your age. And it makes me happy to know that you exist. So there's that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to ask, Miss Alice?
You can think on it.
You want to think on it? No.
Yeah.
So what kind of advocacy work do you like doing? And I guess how do you want to correlate Miss Wheelchair Oregon and maybe potentially Miss Wheelchair America into that platform?
So what was the first part of the question? Sorry.
What
Oh, types
advocacy
of
effort?
advocacy.
Yes.
So yeah, I've been advocating for our most vulnerable communities for a long time, whether it's the unhoused community, LGBTQIA, which I'm a member of, and yeah, all the groups, all the marginalized groups. That's my bread and butter because I believe that everybody should have a chance and contribute because diversity is what makes this world so exciting and different, never boring.
Right.
So, yeah, so I just advocate for, all the ones that are really struggling, and so here in Grants Pass, there's a, a quite a big homeless population, and a lot of them are disabled. And there's a lot of factors as to why you could end up that way. One of them being uh, that we're only allowed so much, or in a lot of places here, you have to work for your shelter, which is, it's just homelessness is something that we all could face. Not to sound dark, you know, but it is a thing, and hopefully I can get to a point nationally where what really needs to be pushed through is 10,000 a month as opposed to, you know, what it is now. So, and that bill, that law has been sitting on the Congress floor for years. So, but if I keep pushing, I refuse to give up. So, I would really like, you know, people with disabilities to have a little bit more of an easier time existing and not fighting for every little thing.
Right. With the cutbacks and stuff that are happening and still continuing to come up.
Right.
There's a lot of different aspects because it also hits the special education side, that sector. So like the average is about 11,000 per student for general education,
Yeah.
and for special education, in some areas it's the same amount. In other areas, it goes up to like 22 to 24,000,
That's
depending
crazy.
what they offer. Yeah, and so like just seeing like where kind of like the cutbacks are going, and there's people that can't even get the adaptive equipment they need. They can't get their wheelchairs. Like they're having to pay out of pocket for this stuff, even if
Yeah.
they
Oh,
have
yeah. I mean,
private insurance, state insurance. It doesn't matter. And so like
yeah,
that's where I got into it because for children on state insurance is every 2 to 3 years for an adaptive stroller or a wheelchair, not both. And a lot of the times they grow out of it, and you can change out the pads, you can change out the headrest, you can change out, the arms, but
Right.
it's not enough. Um,
Oh,
and
of course. Yeah. Absolutely.
yes, so, like we know people that are adults that are having to pay for all of the equipment, and they can't, like, there's no possible way. And especially with like either like if they're on SSI or state help or anything like that, it's still not enough, especially with the rising cost of just getting housing and getting like just regular basic necessities.
Right. So there's, like you said, there's a menagerie of factors as why that could happen in our community. And I just find it unacceptable. We're the richest nation in the world. No one should be struggling like this, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And there are, like I said, there are people that need to be taken care of, and that's okay. It should be an honor to take care of your brother and your sister, even if you disagree. Like, I just, um, yeah, we don't need to make things as hard as they are. And also, I'm hoping to just show that people with disabilities are really valuable and are here to make the world a more compassionate place. Which is rough because, like, sometimes you're like, I didn't ask for that, but why not you?
Right.
Uh, and uh, we are really valuable and special, and uh, I want people to know that in this climate today, we could shine like diamonds. So yeah,
Yeah. And I think that's kind of like where like it's really good for us, to work together and to accomplish different things, because I think that once people like realize that there are places for people with disabilities, and a lot of times it's right where everyone else is, they just need the right tools or the support,
right.
that's easily accessible. And if they have that, then there should be no problem at all being able to, you know, have people, it doesn't matter if it's physical disabilities, cognitive disabilities, they should be able to have every opportunity and experience that,
No, I
people that
agree.
are fully
Uh,
able,
Yeah.
have. Because, there's, Evelyn, who I had to transfer her to a different school because there was no ADA accessible bathroom for elementary in our
Oh
area.
yeah.
And so, there's like little things like that are like, well, things could be done. They're not being done. But when it's a basic necessity, no matter what, it should be able to be there for
No, I
people.
agree. I remember as a kid, well, that's why I always had an aide with me during school. Um, and I got really attached to my shadows, like some of them I'd actually known my whole life. But I do, speaking of bathrooms, I remember this one memory I have of, going to the bathroom, and then usually whoever was in there with me, whether it was a friend, they would make sure to like open the door for me because it was one of those heavy wooden doors, like old school.
Yeah.
And um, they didn't see me. And I tried to open the door, and then uh, I couldn't. So I was like, I had cracked it open. I was my walker at the time. So you can imagine this small girl with CP. Like, I had cracked it open. And I was like, hello, help. And then eventually some teacher found me, and they were like, okay, this can happen. If you're in the bathroom with Alice, like, you have to be
Yeah.
aware. So yeah, I mean, it's it's ridiculous. I mean, it's not ridiculous. These are things that a non-disabled person doesn't think of. And um, I think at the same time, you have to have people willing to say, hey, this, this would work better for me. And let me show you how to design it. I think it's really important that we learn from each other and work together. So,
Yeah. It's a pretty, kind of how to say this. You don't really know unless you're in the situation,
of
you
course,
know?
yeah, absolutely.
And I think that that's kind of where like we need to bring light to it, because I know you just had an interview a little while back, and you spoke on the homeless situation in Grants
Mm-hmm.
Pass, and nationwide there are some that are due to disabilities, and they don't
Mm-hmm.
have those opportunities. And I think that that's when things aren't brought to light, that's kind of where they get shouted, or if there's not enough noise behind it.
Right.
Like, so for like the bathroom situation, like I went to senators, I went to this like a couple different state offices about it, and nothing was really uh, done on that side of things.
Oh, uh-oh. Ring light fell.
Yep. There you go.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's typical. But maybe I could elicit your help with like local government. Because I do have to meet like the mayor and all that. So, um, so yeah, that'd be fun. Yeah, I know it's kind of a little sorted there, but still, I think it's good to meet your representatives, and I will never be like a state representative because I don't know, politics is kind of crazy, but I'm a humanitarian. So, I basically, even if we disagree, really, I think that everybody should be clothed, housed, and fed, no matter what your stature is in life. And we can all be a little bit more decent to each other.
Yeah.
So,
So, if you had any advice for people kind of just like starting out on their way or trying to find their voice or like their position to kind of create that change, what kind of advice would you give them?
be gentle with yourself. Don't, you know, I think it's good to take breaks, because it's a really exhausting time to be someone who cares right now.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to pace yourself and pick your battles. Um, yeah, like you can't just go all the time. You gotta eat, you gotta sleep, do things that feel good to you. Um, I would I think for people with disabilities, I think social media is a good way to get your voice out there because there's a lot of us that don't drive.
Yep.
So it's a blessing and a curse, I would say. But that's really how I was able to get my platforms across, was through Instagram and Facebook, stuff like that.
Well, that's really awesome.
Yeah,
Well,
and
I
that's an
love the work that
accessible
you're
way.
doing. Yeah,
Oh, thanks.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, I know a lot of people are adding in, like the closed captions and things, and um, some people are actually adding in like sign language interpreters to their social media posts, which is actually pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Um,
we need to actually be doing that because they're trying to get rid of it. And so,
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah. They're really trying to push it back in schools, which is not very fun.
It's just sad because it's such a beautiful language, and like, yeah, but
It is.
yeah, we got to
Yeah.
keep that
Evelyn and I
going.
went to the Rocky Mountain School of the Deaf over in Colorado,
Oh, that's
and
so cool.
it was pretty impactful just going in there, and obviously there was that communication barrier. Um, they had like their communications director come up, and that was totally fine. But like even with like the small amount of ASL that I know, it definitely wasn't enough to interpret like the whole conversation. Um,
Right, right.
and then you could see Evelyn, and she's like, like, oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
totally
like, and they're like
mesmerized.
completely like doing ASL while they're talking to us, and she was definitely like, oh my goodness, like this is a whole new world, like I've never like seen anything like this. Um,
Right. No,
so
that's
that
so
was,
cool.
yeah, that was pretty fun to kind of see Evelyn's uh, interaction with that as well,
Evelyn,
because
every time I see her with like that picture of you guys with Temple Grandin, she just looks at people so lovingly. She
oh,
doesn't even look at she
she's in
doesn't
like
look at the
awe.
camera. She looks at them.
Mm-hmm.
And that you have a special kid, and it makes me happy to know that, like, seriously, I look at her and that's exactly what it was like. except
Right. And
I
see, like
had
at
a
that time, like I like feel like I push her too much sometimes. And then at other
yeah,
times
they
I'm like,
definitely do. They oh, of course, they definitely do like to push as much as they can when they're younger, and
mm-hmm,
then it's like when they're 21, they don't give a crap.
right.
So it's like, no, children with disabilities grow up and they need services our entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
So don't get me started. I guess that's why I'm here to get started. So, but yeah, you know, growing up in the 90s, I of course had, like I said, a team of doctors up until the time I was 21, and then it was like kind of non-existent. Um, but yeah, I mean, I can't say that the situation has really changed when it comes to disability or accessibility or access to what we need to survive and thrive. It really hasn't changed, but luckily we've grown up and are continuing the fight. I think it's a lifelong process, but it's an honor though, because you know, you and Evie are great, and I'm so excited to
Thank you.
see you're already doing so well. Like I'm so excited to see where this is all going.
Right. It's a pretty amazing like experience, just like from being like from my standpoint and like watching, because I'm like, you need to meet these people, Evelyn. Like this is like, these people are just, going for it, and they're like changing the world on everything. And, you know, you have the chance and the opportunity to like talk to them, to see them, to, um kind of be in their forethought, like this is why I'm still doing this, because Temple is 77, and she's like, this is why we need retired therapists and retired teachers to volunteer their time, because we have all of these wait lists and no one to provide these services. So, like there's just in like a lot of the rural communities, like in ours, there's 200 to 300 wait lists for like speech therapy and occupational therapy, physical therapy.
Man,
And so, like, that's why I don't have Evelyn go to her therapy office more than once a week, because we don't need to take up another spot for things that we can do at home when we can.
that makes
Um,
sense.
yeah, so like I'll give her incentives. So, I took her on my street bike to school, and
I saw that.
her thing was she had to use her crutches because I can't bring her walker on my bike.
Yeah,
So, and like she's fully able to use her crutches. She's just not confident enough.
right.
But like at therapy, she took 22 independent steps on
Yeah,
Wednesday.
the most I was able to take was about 21. Same.
Really?
And then yeah, and then an interesting thing takes place. Everybody's journey is different,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying that they're all the same. Um, but they definitely make it seem like, oh, these type of kids will be confined to a wheelchair probably. And when I was a kid, they made it sound like it was a bad thing. And I can't tell you the number of times where I was like just really struggling just because I had to stand in one place for at a time, or in choir class, or or just walking around. Like I would never get through a full school week because I was always so insanely tired. Come to find out years later that people with cerebral palsy use 4 to 5 times more muscle than the average person just to exist.
Yeah.
And so that's what I was feeling. People thought I was faking being sick. No, I just couldn't voice like I'm exhausted all the time, and 7 days a week is hard. Um, but when I was about 17, I started using a manual wheelchair um, full time, and I have never looked back. Like, I think mobility aids are special, but I also think like it's good to think about your own safety and energy levels, because I feel like when we're younger, they're younger, like, oh, you got to use crutches, you got to, or just use the walker, and it's like you should be allowed to use whatever you want as long as you have access to adventure.
I think that's so like Evelyn has CP2 for those
Hmm.
listening. Evelyn has cerebral palsy too. And she was hesitant on using her crutches due to the fact of kids in her school like bumping into her, just
Right.
different things like that. But she said it went great. She had 2 little hiccups with standing
Yeah.
up at the table, before she got into her crutches. But one of the boys in her class let her be the line leader because she was in her crutches and just different things, but she never got hit or knocked over by another kid, which was good.
Yeah.
And like, for me as a mom, like I want her to keep like trying.
Yeah.
But like I've taken her to iFly. The one up in Portland was the first iFly to do adaptive indoor skydiving, which was so awesome. And they did
I want to
excellent.
do that so
I know.
bad.
I want to get us together on like a summer trip to go up there and just go for it. Just have us like have a big
Like
group
anytime
and just have fun.
you guys want to like include me on some of your trips, like you guys are really doing it.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I'm actually going to DC for Memorial Weekend, so I'm pretty excited about that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, there's supposed to be a lot of big people there that weekend, so okay, you can just stand up. You want to listen?
Hi, kid.
It's the little things. It's the little things. Good job.
Look at that smiley girl.
Alice and I were talking about you.
Was Evie a preemie?
Yeah, she was. I had severe preeclampsia, and so they ended up taking her at 34 weeks. But I was in the hospital for 3 days under observation, like being NPO and just sitting there, and I gained 11 pounds of water weight. So they're like, "Hey, we're gonna take her," and I'm like, "Thank you. Like, my body can't do this anymore."
Wow, that's intense. How much does she weigh?
5 pounds 6 ounces. And she's
I was
18 inches long.
Nice. I was 2.5 pounds.
Oh my goodness.
3 months preemie. So
wow.
Yeah. So I was a little one. I was a wee one. But small but mighty.
So if you read it all or listen to audiobooks, you definitely need to read The Boy Who Could Run But Not Walk, and it's by Karen Pape, and I'm hoping I'm saying her last name right. But it's about different neurological conditions, primarily cerebral palsy. And this one boy, he was on the whole story, like it's titled after him, but there's more stories in it. But he was on like a competitive soccer team, and when he was running, you couldn't even tell. But when he walked, like you can tell. But from that book, because no one could figure out why she has cerebral palsy, and so from that book, I actually read on when there's not that much prematurity, but jaundice happens a couple days after the birth, which is what happened with her. That is one of the leading causes of mild cerebral palsy, which is what jaundice? Evelyn's technically considered as. Yeah, after a couple days after birth, if they get jaundice or severe jaundice, that's one of the leading causes for mild cerebral palsy. And I never knew that. I've looked at multiple medical journals and could not.
Anything else you found out?
There was just like different ones. Like, so another story was that one of the children had to have like a brain surgery, and a lot of like the studies that have been done on geriatric patients or deceased patients. So there's not that much that's gone into pediatrics, and that's kind of what this book kind of like entails and goes through, and different ways that they've been like able to see changes that they weren't expecting. So like they removed part of a brain and it grew back.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm not kidding you. Like this book, I've read it like 3 different times, and I've learned something new every time I've read it, because you just like look at
she's having a good time over there. Okay.
She is. She's nonstop. It's pretty awesome, but crazy at the same time. Yeah.
That's exactly how I was. Marla was asleep on my couch, but She's snoring logs right now. She wouldn't be a good guess.
Yeah,
But that's my service dog.
Yeah, that's her
But,
service dog is River. But she's gonna
River, I love
start training him solo probably next year when she's 8. So then it can kind of switch from me to her.
Yeah, that's another piece. That's another piece of advice is people with disabilities need animals.
Mm-hmm.
Like we have like a symbiotic relationship. So
yeah, and Temple
I
Grandin
think,
has a book on that. It's Animals Make Us Human, I think is what it's called.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You have to send me that book and the other one you're talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Because it's crazy how how little research there is on CP. And so
right. And there's
I
hardly
feel like
anything on pediatrics, and that's what like kind of drew me to this book. I was like, oh, weird, like I'll read it and see kind of like what it's about, because it just mostly said it went over case studies. And I'm very into medical journals. I'm very into like that kind of stuff because of my massage therapy background before. But it just like led me into like a totally different way. And I'm like, no wonder they couldn't figure out why she has CB, because she wasn't born too premature.
Yeah.
And she didn't have any other complications. Like her oxygen level like was lowered, but it wasn't anything, to like change or like boast about, And
Yeah. Did she
I
have
was
a
like,
brain
well, what
bleed?
else could it be?
Did she have a brain bleed?
Not that they could tell.
Interesting.
Yeah, but she hasn't done an MRI because they say that under 8, I believe, they don't recommend having children put under. So I'm just waiting until she's like 12 or so, and we'll get an MRI and kind of see if there's any other.
I had a bleed, so
changes.
Like a couple of days after I was born. So.
Oh, weird. That's crazy. And is yours considered mild too, or is it
moderate, mild to moderate? Yeah.
Okay. Which obviously I know that can change. Like,
and they say, because people will be like, "Oh, is it degenerative?" And no, but it does change. It has changed.
Mm-hmm. Well, with
I guess
Evelyn's spinal surgery, because she had SDR up in St. Louis, and that was by Dr. Park before he retired and passed away. But he was the lead surgeon in the world for it. And before, she had, what is it? Her left eye would go in and be like lazy going in, and now it's the opposite since her surgery. Like she just can't find that place and space where it's supposed to be. And so it's just kind of crazy, like just how it all like changes, and it could be like little different things.
Yeah, and it does change and add and take things away. She's like, I'm over this conversation.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, if she doesn't listen, then she's gonna have to go in the other room with the dogs.
Oh no.
The other room.
Well, that's that's definitely interesting. It's the Evelyn show now.
It is.
Would you say that Abby likes meeting all these different disability figures as well, or she's still kind of too young to grasp it?
I would say it depends. Like it depends on how much like I hype them up, maybe.
Yeah.
Because like Temple, she sat through her whole class at the college, and then met her, and like totally fine, totally normal. Other people, she's like, okay, I'm like,
I'm a kid.
Yeah, but
No,
like we went to when we were in Denver. That was her first time going. So I let her, like experience it all. Like we went to a hockey game. We went to the Rapids game, which they have. We went to Build the Rapids. We went to the Rapids game, which they have a unified league, which is their amputee league, and they also have a rolling Rapids league, which is their wheelchair league.
Oh, cool.
So I'm going back in. They had Bark in the Park with all the dogs coming out, so we went to that game.
Oh, nice.
But yeah, so just different stuff, and I'm going back there in May, and I'm going to go to the United game and then also the practice for the Rolling Rapids, and hopefully kind of see what we can do there on the MEC disability standpoint, get more people and, teens and young adults involved in the wheelchair league and the amputee league, and kind of get a little bit more knowledge and awareness out there for them.
Do you think Evie would be open to like carrying a crown one day?
I think she would. She is definitely a follower to a leader, I would say. Because if one person does it, she will do it, and then she will go all in on it. Like we did the Laughter for Love for autism awareness, and this little girl went up on stage and was telling jokes, and then finally, like after a couple more people up, I was like, okay, I can do it. And then she was like up there, and like passing the mic to everyone, all the kids and stuff. And so it definitely like takes a minute, or like for her to see me go and do something, because that's normally not how I am. Like it's definitely been since I started MEC Disabilities and having her just being like her voice, because like I remember like we were at the wildlife safari up in Winston, and I think she was like 3 at the time, and I never really noticed that knew that she noticed people staring at her. And it was the first time that I was like, oh my God, like I just had no words, and I was like, okay, something needs to be done. Like, people need to start recognizing that you can talk to people with disabilities just like a normal person, even if they can't respond or if they don't know, you still talk to them like a normal person. But she was like, Mommy, why are they staring at me and not saying anything? And I'm like, like that's a deep question for right now. Like, how do I answer that? And so I just kind of kept it in for a second, and then I was like, well, they probably just haven't seen, a walker before, because she says walker instead of gait trainer. But she's like, I was like, they've probably never seen a walker before. They're probably just like, they don't know if they can talk to you, because, like not just you being disabled, but you are a kid. So there's like both aspects.
I feel like that's never stopped happening. I definitely reached a point when I was a kid. People were like, my sister would be like, like people are staring at you, and I'm like, I don't give it any mind, to be honest, because like I'm just existing, living my life. And then, but if somebody like comes up to me, like today, it happened today. There was a guy that was like, he was an older gentleman, and he was like, "Oh, you're very pretty," and I was like, "Thanks. I'm actually Miss Wheelchair Oregon." And he goes, "So what happened?" And I said, I have cerebral palsy," and he goes, "Oh, I'm sorry." And I said, "Don't be sorry. It's who I am." And I've had so many of those conversations. I don't think it ever really goes away. Some areas are worse than others, I would say. I didn't really encounter that too much when I lived in Los Angeles, but I still think anywhere and everywhere could be inaccessible, though, even if you live in a city. But yeah, people automatically think that disability equates tragedy, and rather than it's just a part of humanity. It's not, it's not something that we need to shun or think that it's a death sentence or something to be depressed about your whole life. Like, this is your one life, So, okay, so it's disabled. You need a wheelchair, or you need someone to speak for you or help you get dressed. It's just like, that's just how it is. That's our existence. It doesn't mean that we're living a terrible existence.
Yeah. I think, well, like to shine light on kind of like what you brought up earlier about being tired. And people don't understand that aspect. Like I'm with Evelyn, obviously, day in and day out. So I understand from like a outside person. Like I will never understand like what you guys have gone through. Like my body, like I can never physically understand.
Right.
I can obviously see it from a mother's point of view and an outsider point of view. But like we have family members that are like, oh, you're going to be running soon. You're going to, and like, it's not technically, or necessarily like false hope or false inspiration or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean they like to say that when we're younger, to be honest. I mean,
Yeah.
even when I was born, my sister's dad is a doctor, and he was like, "Oh, by 7 she should be up and walking." And I overheard that, so that's what I would tell people when I was little. And like that was bad because like I was like, "Well, what's wrong? Nothing's wrong with me. I have cerebral freaking palsy and I
Mm-hmm.
need mobility aids for the rest of my life, and it doesn't make you any less. Period. End of sentence."
Right. Well, I think that's so like, I really push Evelyn on trying new things. I don't
Yeah.
like push her on the physical side probably as much as I should. But um it's because I see that. Like I see that she is exhausted. I'm like, dude, she
Yeah.
is awesome. She's good to go in the morning for therapy. In the afternoon, no. Like she will not listen to
Yeah.
you. She won't, she's tired. And like, we have family members that are like, oh, she needs to go to regular school. She needs to go 5 days a week and blah, 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 blah. And I'm like, listen, okay? She goes to school 2 days a week. She has therapy. Like, this is what's working for her. Like, she can barely make it through the 2 days of school for full
Man,
days.
that would have, that Evelyn situation would have been my dream situation as a kid
Well,
because
I really
uh,
fought. I really, really fought. Like, it was hard.
that's
Like, I fought
amazing.
to get her in a different school, and then they wouldn't let her use the bathroom when she needed to because they said that there was no aides available or no office staff. And I was like, no, that's not okay. Not okay with me. Um,
Yeah.
and I was like, I looked for any and every possible thing. Like I was before I had gotten approved to transfer her to a different school. They were like, "Your school shopping," and I said, "This is not school shopping. This school
Yeah.
has no ADA bathroom for my daughter to use, and that's a basic necessity to life. She has to use the bathroom."
Yeah.
And like it was like I had to fight hard to even be able to see a school that had a handicap accessible bathroom for her.
Well, yeah, I take my hat off to you because I I struggled basically my entire schooling career because it wasn't until middle school that my mom fought to take me out of class around like after lunch, and then she would teach me the final two um sessions at home kind of thing,
Yeah.
when after I'd had a nap and rest and all that stuff. So I think it's really good that you're saying like, look, disability time is in no relation to non-disabled time, and we can do all the things and live a great life, but you do have to adapt to us and our energy levels. And um we people think, oh well, you have to fit into the box that everybody else is fitting into. No, you don't at all.
See, I used to
And
think
that's the
that
big
all the time,
illusion.
and that's I think um was one of my biggest things was overcoming that through Evelyn
Yeah.
because like I had a lot of issues struggling with postpartum when I had her because like I had
Wow.
that separation because I was a
Yeah.
patient while she was in NICU and I didn't get to see her. And it was a very
Yeah.
big I was a very big there was a very big separation in that. And so like one day like we were at the park and she was sitting and like just from like a like medical massage, sports massage standpoint, I saw her sitting and I was like, that's not right. Like something about this is not right. So I took a picture of her sitting at the park and she was about like, I want to say like 6 months old at this time. And I called her doctor and we went in, I showed her the pictures and she was like 8 months. Um, and I was like, something's not right. Like she should not be sitting like this. Her hips should not look like this. We got into
Right.
Shriners. They misdiagnosed her as having hip dysplasia. We had her in a brace, like metal braid, like bracket thing that kept her legs apart at night. Horrible.
Yeah.
And like as a mom, it's like, okay, like that's like where my advocacy started. I was like, this is not right. He's like, yes, it is.
Oh
Well,
my
Shriners
gosh.
has a full CP clinic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, and nope, it's hip dysplasia. And I went back to her
Wow.
doctor and I said, I've looked at different medical journals. I've looked into the angles of
Wow.
her femur heads and her hips. And I said, it's not off enough to be hip dysplasia. It's something
Yeah.
else going on. And the doctor was like, no, everything's fine. Just keep wearing a brace. And I was like, okay. Went back to her doctor and I said, we need something to get that, like a second opinion, re-diagnose, because this is not it. And so we went to Dornbecker's and they were like, no, she has cerebral palsy. And I was like, okay, this would have been nice to know 6 months ago when we could
Yeah.
have been actually being proactive.
I was diagnosed at 10 months.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm telling you, there's a medical bias around disability. And they don't like to diagnose things. They don't like to talk about it. And it's really maddening. It's like, no, disability, disease, these things happen. You can't just sweep them under the rug. Like, it's okay. But that stems from, how we were thought of as a society. For 100 years, we weren't allowed to be seen in public. And
See, I feel like with everything going on, it's like starting to stem to go back that way. Like
you're
the
right.
hospitals and putting
They're
them in
always
group
going to
homes.
try. They're always going to try. But it's an annoying thing and a hurtful thing that we have to go through. But at the same time, like, I really do believe that we're all worthy, and it stems from being uncomfortable, whether you're uncomfortable about someone who's queer or disabled or a person of color. It's just not being well informed, I think. And they think, oh, if that happened to me, then I wouldn't want that existence. And it's like, life is life.
Well, there's like a lot of people that are like, well, I guess not a lot of people, but there are people that say, don't wish for me to have a different life because this is all I've known.
Yeah.
I think it's what like that term or like that phrase is that they say. And I think that that's really impactful, especially for a lot of younger people to know. Like, I'll always give Evelyn the opportunity, like if they have something that's adaptive or, go to wherever she needs to go to try something. If she really wants to do it.
You.
Oh, we took her walk. Oh, gosh, I think it was like almost 2 years ago now. We went to the House of Vortex. Because I was like, ooh, maybe she'll be able to stand. And like she did walk differently. It was crazy. And I really want to take her again. Now that, she's had her surgery, I kind of want to see if it's different. Just from like a weird medical, standpoint.
That's great. Yeah.
But like, yeah, just we went to a skate park. She saw a skate park and she's like, Mom, can we go? I'm like, yeah, sure. So we went to a skate park and there was probably like 6 guys there skating. And 6 boys, guys. Some were older, some were younger. 6 guys. Anyways, 6 guys skating. And Evelyn's like, oh, I want to try that. Can you push me in my walker? And I'm like, hold on. Like, her walker has a seat. And I'm like, hold on. We can do it. We can try, And so one of the guys came over and recorded it for us and stuff. It was super cute. She was doing like the little ramps and stuff. And I was like, oh. And, I'm like follow Wheels on Instagram and just different things like that. And I think it'd be so cool to take her to the X Games where like Wheels is going and competing, or seeing.
I would love to meet Wheels if you're going to orchestrate that. So let me know.
Right.
He's definitely on my list.
He's on mine. I think he's that's the cool part about awesome. His stuff on Instagram is hilarious. I absolutely love watching his stories and stuff. And there was one where he's like, almost hits this little kid on a scooter, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like his description on that, I was like dying. I was like, this just like, this is just like how it should be. Like if like people want to try something or do something, just let them do it. Like get them like exactly. There's a way,
exactly, and that's exactly how my parents were, and my parents were skiers, and hey presto, I became a skier. I was I used to bike ski and I really, really loved it. Unfortunately, I haven't skied since we moved away. But yeah, like I was really into like sports and all that stuff. Of course, I could only go so far with that, but luckily I had found acting and that I took off with that. But yeah, like whatever I wanted to do, my parents were like, okay, well, I'm sure there's a way we can figure it out. And I think that is exactly how you should approach your disabled child or your family member is just, and that's exactly why Evelyn is happy and go lucky
As she's
and
snapping
crazy
in the
because she's
background.
allowed she is allowed to be who she is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Snap, snap, snap.
Right.
Yeah.
I always tell her, I'm like, don't accept no for an answer, and I say no to her, and she's like, oh, you're saying no? Like she'll like come back at me. I'm like, I'm allowed to say no. I was like, you don't like allow other people
Wow,
to say like keep
already
going if somebody tells
started.
you no. I was like, but I'm mom. Sorry, doesn't work with me.
That's funny.
Oh
You
my
are too
gosh.
much, kid.
No, that's right.
Do you have any questions, kid?
Do you have any questions? You can ask Alice how it was when she was younger. Yeah, you can ask her. Ask her future mate. Yeah, don't be scared.
Don't be scared. Ask me. Just have a conversation with me.
We're just having a conversation.
What do you want to know?
What do you want to know?
You could ask me anything.
Ask her anything. Huh? You have to say it because I can't hear you. You'll be able to hear yourself. Say it. Ask her anything that you want to know.
Yeah, anything.
Because she's grown up and she has cerebral palsy just like you. And you never know if somebody's listening. Maybe they want to know it too.
Or anything you want to ask me. It doesn't have to be about CP.
It doesn't have to be about CP. It could be about what you have for lunch.
Yeah.
Anything. Ask her. Ask her any question. Say, oh, does that crown get heavy on your head all day?
It did at first. I would get like headaches if I had to wear it for an extended period of time. But now I think it's fully dented my skull, so I feel no pain anymore. What did you say?
Oh, she just wasn't listening, and so she said, "What is she saying?"
Oh, okay. The crown does get heavy, but I've adjusted to it now.
Yeah. Have a question?
What do you want to be when you grow up, or what do you want to be now?
An artist.
An artist.
What kind of artist?
Like an art teacher.
Ooh, you want to be an art teacher?
Ooh.
That's the first time I've heard of that one.
I like it.
Yeah.
I think you would make a good art teacher.
Because what? Who?
Mrs. Lawrence is my
Oh.
I didn't hear that.
You have to talk into here so she can hear you.
My art teacher is the best art teacher I ever known.
What's her name?
Miss.
I know. I have to get a adapter to split the headset. Okay, there you go.
Miss Lawrence.
Oh, she sounds like a great lady. Do you like to paint, color, craft? What do you like to do?
I like to paint.
Very good.
Yeah.
When I paint, I like to splatter it.
She likes to splatter paint.
What?
I do.
She likes to splatter paint. I think we need to do the one where we have like the balloons filled with paint and just
yeah, that would be fun.
That would.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, we should do that outside.
Well, we're not doing it inside.
I think outside would definitely work.
I was thinking like maybe do it on the sidewalk next to the office.
What's your favorite thing to paint, Evie?
People.
What was it?
People.
Oh, people. Very good. Hey, that's a skill. Not everybody can draw people. I'm not very artistic at all, but I have other gifts.
I was like, she's been going crazy. She does not like coloring books. She only likes sketchbooks now.
Oh.
Yeah, and so she likes to draw her own stuff, and so every time she gets something, she's always like, I want a sketchbook, and she has like 20 sketchbooks.
No, I
Well,
don't.
yeah, you
All
can
the
never.
stuff I have is filled.
I know it's filled. That's what I'm saying. You have like 20 sketchbooks.
Really?
And
I
that's
want to see
totally
your
fine.
sketchbooks, Evie. Do you have any of them so I could see?
Oh, she's got lots.
No.
I want to see your sketchbook. That's so cool. I've been
She-
writing poetry recently, so I like that.
Oh, okay.
My sketchbook is my phone. I just write them in my phone. But
Hey, that's a
poetry's
good
fun too.
idea.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
definitely. I think she's definitely going to have to. Please don't. She's definitely going to have to get like an iPad Pro or something to be able to, do all the
yeah,
drawings and stuff that she wants to
definitely.
do.
Oh yeah, I've been talking you into get one of those.
I know.
You'll never get those.
Yeah, I know.
Well, I'm glad that you can draw, Evie. That makes me really happy. What's your doggy's name?
What's your doggy's name?
Rocky.
Rocky.
And the other one's River.
Rocky and River. Good names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's not gonna fit. It's literally not gonna fit.
And they're both Bernedoodles. One's just smaller and one's big.
Oh, that's cute. So I'm excited to see you guys for the Easter egg hunt. That's gonna be exciting.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We had to do a lot of last minute stuff a couple days ago, but it'll definitely be exciting and fun. So we're excited for it.
Yeah, no, I've been looking forward to it for weeks. So it'll be really fun.
We have thousands of Easter eggs that we're going to be putting out.
1,100.
1,100.
Wow, 1,100.
Yes.
That's a lot.
Yeah. So we have the chirping Easter eggs. We have the lighted Easter eggs, just different things like that for different abilities. And then we were debating on a couple different things for people in wheelchairs. So we're just going to kind of play it by ear on that.
Okay, well, if you need me and Stephanie's input, let me know.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it was last year that eggs were being floated off.
Oh, wow.
Because we were doing balloons with them last year, and they just would float off.
Okay, that
not
didn't
gonna work. We're gonna undo all
It
the
sounds
balloons.
very whimsical, though. I can see
It
why you tried.
Yeah. I'm like, this year we have sensory items and like sensory stuff inside the eggs and stickers. Last year it was just stickers and a prize table or prize tables, but yeah. So
Nice.
Stop. Okay. Well, is there anything else you'd like to add while she's being crazy?
I would like to see. Yes, I would like to see your sketchbooks, Evie, and I'm excited to see those.
I'll go get them.
Well, you can bring them with us tomorrow.
Yeah.
If you get them out for me, then I could bring them with me. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
we could talk about art. I love it. All right. Well, I had a great time, you guys.
Yeah, thank you, and thank you for coming on. And we're gonna have to do this again. And
yeah, and I think we need to connect on a lot more stuff. So
right, yeah.
So I look forward to it.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Bye.